You, Michael? Sure.
Might not need them.
Have you offered to speak? Are you two deliberately wearing the same tie today?
I'm not going to turn around and see what Mr. Rolfe is wearing. I don't think he's wearing a tie. Off tie. You better sit with me
Yes.
We are just missing one of the leading things.
paragraph.
I wonder if we might just make some inquiries.
Mine hit the ball with 2022.
Just, do you mind if I just do the housekeeping matter totally? Right.
Dr. Frampton.
Thank you, Your Honour. I've got a supplementary submission in relation to the Carey Joy statement from yesterday. It's a matter which I should have raised with you yesterday, and it relates to just the one paragraph. It's number 58. Does Your Honour have that available to you?
Yes.
Principal focus was on the submissions that the whole document should not be incorporated in the file, and we made submissions to you about paragraph 57. On further reflection, and now having reflected on the attachment C, which is not being incorporated on the brief, it seems to us that paragraph 58 falls into the same category as paragraph 57. It names a police officer, it refers to some salacious material. In our respectful submission, it falls squarely within the category of scandalous material. It has no potential at all, we say with confidence, to advance Your Honour's deliberations. And given that the material has been provided now, what we ask for is a non-publication order in relation to the one paragraph.
What I'm going to do, Dr. Freckleton, is make an interim non-publication order over paragraph 58, and everybody's heard that application, and everyone will have an opportunity to respond in writing, and if it needs to be ventilated further, I'll come back to it.
Thank you very much, Your Honour.
So an interim non-publication order in relation to paragraph 58 of Mr. Joy's statement in the same terms as the other non-publication order in relation to paragraph 57. Thank you. Yes.
I have nothing further on.
Thank you. I'm not sure who is proposed or who is left to ask questions.
I think it is Dr. Freckleton. And I'll just check with Ms. Oslands.
No means. I think Mr. Bowe wishes to ask some questions arising from the notes.
He's withdrawn that application.
Oh, has he? I see. All right. I wonder if I might have the...
Oh, sorry. Thanks, John.
Okay. Mr. Rolfe, I just have a few questions for you on a handful of topics. Just getting into perspective your career with the Northern Territory Police Force, would I be right in saying that you joined the police force as a recruit on the 30th of May of 2016?
Yes, I believe so.
And you were sworn in as a constable in early December 2016.
Believe so.
And your service in the force was, aside from your training, I think wholly in Alice Springs, is that right?
Yes, apart from minor deployments elsewhere.
Yes. And so you were a member of the Northern Territory Police Force between the 7 December 2016 and the time when you were suspended on 13 November 2019 as a result of the homicide charges.
Yes, but I imagine I was still a member until I was
Absolutely.
actually fired.
You were, but in terms of active service, that was suspended on 13 November 2019.
Yes.
And you were found not guilty, of course, of the charges on the 11th of March in 2022.
Yes.
And I'm not going to ask you any questions about your health, but you returned to service just for a short period of about 3 weeks in July, August 2022.
Yes.
And you were of the rank of constable in the police force, is that right?
Yes.
Did you serve in any higher capacity at any stage?
Rank-wise?
Yes.
No.
So your service as a sworn member was for about 3 years.
Correct.
Nonetheless, you have expressed a variety of views about policing in the Northern Territory, especially to the media. Is that right?
Correct.
And in particular, you've expressed a number of views about the competence of persons of higher rank than you achieved within the Northern Territory Police Force.
Correct.
There's been quite a bit of evidence about the episode when you rescued people from floodwaters. You recall giving evidence about that.
Yes.
You wrote a letter to the Northern Territory Independent, which is Exhibit 26, and I don't think it needs to be put up on the screen, but you said, in a different state, I would have got a medal for it, and none of you would have ever known my name. Do you remember writing that?
Yes.
Your view, in short, I beg your pardon, I've mischaracterised that. That was about the discharge of your firearm in relation to Kumanjai Walker.
Yes.
But your view, at any rate, in relation to that was that you were wholly innocent of any wrongdoing at all in respect to Kumanjai Walker. And
Correct.
had your actions been properly characterised and recognised, not only would you not have been charged with any offences, but you would have received a medal.
Yes, potentially.
So, in short, you have expressed the view on many occasions and in many forums that the murder charge should never have been brought against you, and that a variety of senior officers are responsible for, in essence, a malicious prosecution.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that you remain to this day resentful of a variety of persons who have been involved in the bringing of those charges and the giving of evidence against you?
It's hard to say with my feelings. I don't feel any anger at all. I'm just bored of the situation.
Right. What do you feel?
Mainly, I'm bored of the situation.
You're bored.
Of the situation continuing. I'd like for it to finalise.
Okay. So if we summarise your feelings about the experience of the tragic episode and you haven't been charged with murder and the coronial inquiry, what you're saying is you don't feel anger, but you're bored with the situation continuing for a lengthy period.
Correct. I'm ready to move on.
Do you appreciate that it might be hard for some of the members of the Uendamu community and Munjai Walker's family in particular to be able to move on?
Yes.
Do you have any recognition of the fact that may be experienced as hurtful and distressing to hear you say that your main emotion is one of boredom?
That is in regard to the processes that we're doing.
The investigation of the circumstances surrounding Kumanjai Walker's death. That's what this inquest is, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
In terms of the role of those who brought charges against you and who have expressed views that are adverse about your discharge of your duties, do you accept that they've undertaken those functions in performance of their duties as sworn officers?
Except they say that.
But you don't accept that that's the context in which they have discharged their duties?
Potentially, yes.
Nonetheless, your view is that you've been persecuted completely without warrant.
Yes.
Are you a man who is able to learn from feedback or from experience?
Yes.
When you were a member of the Northern Territory Police Force, did you have respect for your superiors?
If they earn respect.
Okay. So from your perspective, although it was a hierarchical and is a hierarchical organisation, it was incumbent upon your superiors to earn your respect, otherwise they didn't receive it.
I would respect the rank. The person carrying the rank would need to earn the respect, yes.
I'm going to ask for the aid memoir in relation to the messages we put up on the screen. I'm just going to show you a handful of those and only ask you very few questions about them. I'm going to read you some of the messages and show you others if it becomes necessary. I'm going to try to avoid showing them to you for the moment because names are attached to the senders and recipients of some of the messages. We may well be able to avoid it, but I'll refer to them specifically so everyone at the table can have regard to them. And I think do you have the folder with the messages available? Great. All right, just turn to number 11 if you would then, please. This is an exchange between you and a friend of yours.
Yes.
Do you say they're referring, I think, to Alice Springs Police Station? This station is a mess and bosses don't have a clue.
Yes.
And that was your view, wasn't it? That the bosses at Alice Springs, amongst other places, didn't have a clue.
It was a generalised view that some didn't have a clue, yes.
I'd like you to go to message number 82 now, please. and this is a sequence of messages between you and Mitch Hansen.
Yes.
You can see number 81. We don't need to refer to that, but that was where the exchange started. Do you see that?
Yes.
In 82, you said something about a child with and two persons of interest with a history of stealing cars. You say, I sent the details to the bosses and got no reply. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then Mr. Hansen says, haha, useless, eh? Your response, yeah, man. Again, that was your experience and your view about the bosses. Is that right?
In that particular instance, we were trying to locate two POIs with, I believe, stolen a ute with a loaded rifle in the back.
Good.
So in regard to that certain instance and us trying to assist with that investigation, yes.
Okay. And your view was that in relation to the bosses, what they did most of the time was to create red tape to no useful outcome. Have a look at message number 163. Again, this is you communicating with a friend of yours.
Yes.
So does that pretty much sum up an opinion that you held at the time in relation to bosses creating red tape and also being lazy?
Yes, a generalised view, yes.
And in relation to the policies formulated by and implemented by those superior to you, you didn't have a lot of respect for those, did you?
For the policies, that would have been a specific instance. There's a lot of policies that I would and some that I wouldn't, yes.
I see. What about the policies of particularly valuing police who had spent time in the bush?
Where is that policy written?
Well, whether or not it's written, if it was a policy of particularly valuing time spent remotely by Northern Territory Police, is that something you respected?
Maybe it's the use of the word policy that's the problem.
Yes.
If it doesn't exist, and the learning friend can't produce it, then it might.
Well, it depends whether we're talking about a written policy or an understanding or attitude, and that's why I think the issue is with the word policy.
I'll come to it another way. Would you mind having a look at message number 427, please? We'll start with 426.
Yes.
This was an exchange between you and another officer in which you said about the TRG spot, which you wanted to be a member of the TRG, didn't you?
Yes.
You said they're prioritising applicants with bush time. All other applicants, 3 others, have bush time, but I've got to put the paperwork in. You were saying there, I'm being relegated down the priority list because I haven't had bush time. Is that fair?
Yes, in that application, I believe a desired criteria was bush time.
Right. And your colleague says, how does bush time put your application ahead? It doesn't, just an arbitrary decision. You respond, I know, they're fucking idiots prioritising lads that go out bush so they can be lazy and do no work. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And that was pretty much your view, wasn't it? The lads who go out bush are lazy and don't really put their back into what they should be doing.
Again, that was a generalised view, not of all bush stations in Alice Springs. The bush stations closer to the southern desert region were often less busy than the Alice Springs station.
Right. But your view was that those who committed their time and service out bush were, shall we say, often lazy and didn't contribute much.
It's a generalised view.
It is.
I wouldn't say that's a view that I hold about all bush stations at all.
No.
Not at all.
But a lot of them.
In my experience, again, my experience,
Yes.
definitely with IRT, I was only ever called out to bush stations to assist bush police officers that are sometimes were unable to do the job due to potential laziness. So I was called to assist in those instances. So that's what I saw.
Okay. So, is this right? When you were called out to bush stations, by the time you'd been doing it for a while, your mindset was, well, I'm here because another lot of those lazy bush officers aren't doing their work, and so I've got to come in and do what they should be doing.
Not entirely, but sometimes, yes. For example, one time I drove 6 hours to knock on a door and run 200 metres to arrest an offender. In that case, that could have been done by others who were there.
So shall we put it this way, a significant cohort of people who are police officers working out bush go out there for pretty much the easy life, and when it comes to the hard yards, people like you and the IRT had to be called in to do the more demanding work.
Sometimes, again, it's a generalised view. Talking rubbish, not too much weight should be put on these texts.
Have a look at text 648 then, please. This was in November of 2019. This is you communicating with Mr. Kirstenfeld, and you say, I'm waiting for dumb bosses to come see me.
Yes.
Okay. I suggest to you that the picture that emerges from these texts is of an officer who hasn't really come to terms with the fact that a police force is a disciplined, rank-based organisation.
I would disagree.
And that you were an officer who had scant respect for, first of all, those who were senior to you. What do you say about that?
I had respect for lots who were senior to me and not much respect for some who were.
And you had little respect for many bush police.
I would say I had little respect for some bush police. I had little respect for some city police.
No, I referred earlier, wrongly, to the situation in relation to the flood where you jumped in a river and saved some tourists who were stranded in a car. Is that right?
Yeah, along those lines.
And you didn't receive a bravery commendation from the Northern Territory Police Force for that, did you?
No, I did not.
Just read you something from an answer that you gave to questions from, I think it was Council Assisting, transcript 5159. I could be wrong, but I think we're the only police officers in Australia that have received a bravery medal, received a National Bravery Medal for incident on duty without receiving any commendation from their police force. This was another example of your being frustrated and feeling you didn't get proper recognition for your work in the force, wasn't it?
That's just an observation.
Okay, an observation. Can I ask you about your compliance with body-worn videos? You're having your camera switched on. And I'm just going to summarise the many instances. You've been asked a lot of questions by others about the individual occasions. Do you remember the Bojangles episode?
Which one? Sorry. The brief summary.
Where there was a fight outside Bojangles. I can give you more information about it if that'll be helpful.
I just need a tiny little bit. Yeah, lots of fights outside Bojangles.
All right, it was an incident where a male decamped on foot. You chased him and subsequently tackled him, and the officers and the male fell to the ground. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe we're talking about we're on the same page.
Okay. You were with Mr. McCormack when you dealt with that incident. Does that help?
I think so. Was this the incident mentioned in the initial tenancy bundle?
It's one of the matters that we've looked at.
Yes, and I
it was
think-
on the 2nd of April 2017.
Yes.
At any rate, on that occasion, you didn't activate your body-worn video, did you?
No, I believe I did not.
Okay. So that's April 2017. January 2018 was the Malcolm Ryder incident. Remember
Yes.
that one? You didn't activate your body-worn video then, did you?
Correct.
Okay. Now, shortly after that, 10 days later, you were spoken to by Sergeant Gore about not activating your body-worn video when you should.
Yes, I accept that.
Okay. And then just a little bit later, on the 5th of March 2018, you got an email from Superintendent Vickery reminding you of the need to activate your body-worn video. Is that right?
I would accept that.
Okay. And then the next month, again,